Hello viewers and welcome to another episode of Trashtalk on Flying Circus, where I talk about the planes in the book. In this episode, let's talk about the rest of the farmers' planes, as I have already talked about the Theller Cobra MD, which is funny enough the very first plane I have talked about. You can check it at the following link instead. Soldier planes, for very obvious reason, are well-armed warplanes with at least 2 machine guns, minimum, and while they are somewhat on the more expensive side, they aren't exactly difficult to afford, and are generally well worth their price. That said, they are kinda a bit on the fragile side. Let's start this episode off with Kreutzer Spinner M3, wow, I finally get to actually talk about this thing. Lacking rotary plane put the Gotha Empire at a distinct disadvantage in the war against Macchi, as their Singvogels were massively more agile than their Cobra MC. At some point, Gotha has to bite the bullet, despite the lack of available castor oil. Limited to a 110 horsepower engine, the M3 was made lean and mean, with metal frame, closed cowl, and triple wings for maximum lift. Its secret weapon is birch cantilever spar instead of tension wires, greatly reducing drag. In the second half of the war, the M3 served many of Gotha's best aces in large wolf pack squadron, making them quite sought after by post-war pilots. Despite their excellent characteristics, the M3 reliance on synthetic lubrication gave them chronic overheating problems in the northern heat, causing an early retirement from service which preserved a great many machines. Now, you probably have noticed that there are many mentions of castor oil shortage in histories of quite a few aircrafts in Flying Circus. This situation actually happened for the German Air Force or Deutsche Luftstreitkräfte, because, there was an economy embargo going on for German and it turns out castor seed doesn't exactly grow in Europe. Their solution is to make a synthetic version of castor oil, an ersatz version of it. It's actually very hard to find information on what exactly did the German use to make the ersatz castor oil, but they did try a lot of things, ranging from using alternative vegetable oil mixed with mineral oil, to using fish oil, because I guess the sea just happens to be nearby, to using coal slag. You hear me right, coal slag, which is a solid. How the f did the ersatz lubricant work? That depend on your definition of work, because it did get the Fokker DR1 to the sky, which is what the Spinner based on. Then the lubricant broke down from the heat into its base components, choked the engines, and, well, I don't exactly need to explain what happened next, and this gets even worse during summer, because, the heat. Now, let's actually talk about the Kreutzer Spinner, which is kinda slow because of its underpowered engine, but thanks to its triple wings and rotary engine, it can turn like nothing else, and as a bonus, it's also the toughest among all soldier planes, so it can definitely outturn and outlast quite a few planes in a dogfight, having the twin machine guns help too. But it is really slow, and you will not be able to catch up to quite a lot of airplanes, so when you go for the kill, make sure you really get it. Also, consider yourself lucky that the real problem of the Fokker DR1 didn't get applied on this plane, which is that sometimes the upper wing just decided to give up and well, the pilot just died. As for its variations, there's the M1 variant which removes the I-strut but adds 2 more birch reinforcement in place, then optimizing it by reducing redundancy to reduce its mass. This variant is just worse, it's so fragile that you could probably break it by turning really hard, do not recommend. Then there's the up-engine variant with Schreiber B9 engine looted from downed enemy Singvogels. It's faster, definitely, but it's also more sluggish. The plane has already shaved off everything to achieve its current performance, adding even slightly more mass will affect it negatively. Next there's the late prototype, which has Schreiber TG9 high-altitude engine, and 2 balloon machine guns instead of the standard ones. This Spinner variant is redesigned as a balloon hunter, hunting them down at high altitude. Lastly, there's the Parasite variant, which replaces landing gear with landing skid and Zeppelin hook, made to be carried in and launched from an airship, a bit sluggish due to the weight of the hook, but you kinda need that to get in an airship. The Kreutzer Spinner M3, to simply put, is just a good decent dogfighter with no extra gimmick and 2 machine guns. The only thing that dragged it down is its slow speed that might gets it killed. Next, there's the Ritter Model F Singvogel, another decent dogfighter with something extra. The most famous of Ritter design, the Model F Singvogel was designed around high-powered engines that were becoming available as the Macchi Republics began to support the war effort in the UWF. Originally very similar to a Model C, it was upgunned and made more dangerous following a bombing raid on the Ritter factories. The Model F effectiveness comes from aggressively clustering all the machine's mass in a small forward area and moving the wings up to match, allowing the machine to make incredibly aggressive turns, but it is so unstable that it will slip into a complex spin with little provocation. Even as the UWF fell, the Model F continued to be produced in Macchi, and even now, it is a common sight in the hands of professional militias who can handle the training time, and afford the losses that come with training new Singvogel pilots. The Singvogel is a very capable plane in both dogfighting and bombing light targets with its 2-mass bomb. It's slow, yes, but once it dropped the bomb, it get just a bit faster, and that tiny speed advantage is going to be enough against quite a lot of planes. Not only that, the Singvogel has collimated gun sight to make its twin machine guns more accurate, and the pilot get to have a windmill-powered oxygen mask so they can make even tighter turn in dogfight without passing out. It's even the cheapest of all soldiers' planes. And now you are probably asking, what's the drawback? Well, like its real-life inspiration, the Sopwith Camel, the aircraft is very unstable. In fact, because of its nose-heavy nature, the pilot has to hold the stick just to keep it from tipping over in mid-air, and if it ever stall, the plane will spin and the pilot will perish. As for the variants, there's Model E with standard tail and 1 machine gun, cheaper, way more stable, but underarmed. The F4 model instead upgrade the engine to W01 150 horsepower engine. It's less reliable, but the plane is now faster. However, good luck finding the engine. Nachtvogel, Nach stands for night, is a variant with all MG replaced with wing-mounted light machine guns, and wing cutout being removed, allowing this variant to be used as a night fighter as the flashes of the machine guns will be blocked by the wings, preventing the loss of night vision for the pilots. Panzervogel variant, made for ground attack role, has 12 massive armor and a single mechanical machine gun, making it way tougher against bullets, but it's sluggish as hell. Lastly, there's Seavogel, a seaplane variant with floats and balloon machine guns, made to attack airships that are traveling over sea, because that's the only way to get to the Sopwith Island. The Singvogel, with its many variants, lets it perform well in quite a lot of scenarios. It might be slow, it might be unstable, but it works. And finally, the Markgrafzerstorer B, the most beautiful multi-role fighter in the world. The Markgrafzerstorer was designed as a unique multi-role aircraft, to fit the divergent doctrine of the Königliche Sopwith Fliegerkorps, neither fully an observer, a bomber, or a fighter. These aircraft were truly flexible, expected to operate without escorts after attentater scouts secured the skies. At the core of this remarkable aircraft was a V12 engine, which gave the aircraft speed competitive with single-seaters despite its bulk. It was also given a highly modular armament, capable of carrying a large number of bombs and a variety of weapons for both the pilot and gunner position to fill any role. It could even mount cameras. Many nations tried to copy the machine with varied results, and post-war, the Sopwith government sold off much of their reserve stock. This makes the Zerstorer a common sight in the skies. The Zerstorer, in my opinion, is the most beautiful plane in the entire book. I'm not biased, I'm just right. Remove the wings, and this thing will look like a racing car. It even has more than enough power to be a racing car, and like its history said, this plane is fast with high boost and high drop-off, but it can't turn well at all, not that it needs to, because this thing is a fighter. It has 2 crew, and 1 is a gunner at the rear with twin light machine guns to point at anything that dare to fly behind it. At the front, the pilot only has a single machine gun, but it has a collimated sight, and the cockpit has padding so the pilot takes less injury on a crash, and below is 8 massive bomb, more than enough to destroy a significant amount of ground targets. The plane is also decently tough, very stable, with reliable engine. Basically its weakness is just it can't turn well and its forward firepower is kinda mediocre, but that can be easily fixed, because look at the variants. The pilot can add twin light machine guns on the wing, and the gunner can switch their guns out for either light repeating cannon or even a punt gun, which mean that yes, this plane could have 5 machine guns pointing in practically every single direction, or even 3 machine guns with a turreted big gun, while still having turned lead 1 to dogfight anything. This thing can easily be a fast gun fortress, and that's awesome. But anyway, let's actually talk about its variants. First is the C series, which has the 360 horsepower Wollstonecraft Verteidiger H engine, with the micro tank replaced with an actual tank. This thing is really fast, that's all, but it's very expensive. Don't worry, the price is only going to get even worse. The Gotha copy really showed 2 things about the Gotha Empire. 1, they have a lot of resources, and 2, they are completely incapable of using their resources right. This thing has plywood monocoque body, high power prop, 2 extra fuel tanks, and replaced the engine with the 490 horsepower Bertha F4398, which looks amazing at first until you look at its humongous mass. This thing costs almost twice as much as the original and it's worse in practically every aspect. It's an achievement in a way, achievement of absolute fucking waste. Shooting these things down is a mercy. Finally, there's the Free Cities copy, a post-war variant with steel frame, aluminium skin and wing, radio transceiver, and alternator to power it. This variant is even more expensive, but it's actually better than the original. It's tougher, faster, and the pilots could communicate with each other to coordinate their formations and tactics. It is just good. The Kreutzer Spinner is truly a fighter plane capable of performing many roles in a single flight. It's basically a light bomber that can escort itself. And that's all on the soldier planes, from the heavily armed Feller Cobra with 3 machine guns and unreliable engine, the highly agile Kreutzer Spinner M3 that can outturn anything it can't outrun, the jack of all trade RITTER Model F Singvogel that can deal with any problem except for stability of any sort, and the multi-role Kreutzer Spinner B that can bomb targets and escort itself just fine. These are all highly lethal planes once used by the old empires, and there's a reason why they kept using them until the end came, and people kept on using them after the end. So, now that I have finished reviewing every single starter planes for the playbook, now what? Well, there's actually a couple planes left to go in the core book airplane catalog, about 10 of them for various niches that haven't been fulfilled by all other planes in the catalog, and let's not forget about planes from the Flying Circus supplement and plane packs. They all do something special on their own, and while it's going to take a while to list out what they all can do, I want to finish the series properly. Anyway, that's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.